Good morning, you guys. It is Easter Friday today, and I am here in Bowmanville, Ontario, at a really cute store called Markets by Dream Day, and they host these craft shows. I also have my products in their store, but I'm actually going to one of their craft shows where they have these markets and they have all these different vendors, and I'm about to go in. They're going to unlock the doors soon, so I'm going to go in and set up, and I thought I'd show you guys what my setup looks like. Here, as you can see, I've got like so many pages already. I've got my display things. I don't know how well you can see that in the back of my car. It looks like a big mess, but it is a mess, but it is an organized mess. So I'll show you guys what my setup looks like and what I do for that. So just a little background, this is what the store looks like inside. You can see that they have all of these items on display, all these shelves. Those are all artisans, so people who hand make items and they pay a monthly fee to get their products on the shelf in this store. I do have my products on a shelf in the store. I've had a wonderful experience. I've only been there for a couple of months. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'll do a video later about having products in stores. But so far it's been great. So here's the table that I got. It's actually only 4 feet. I was expecting 6 feet, so I did plan for that with my display. So I did have to make a few small changes, but that is no problem. I also had this one big display stand that thankfully I was allowed to have that kind of saved my bacon. And this is all the stuff I've got to get ready. Now, I always have 2 different tablecloth colors, at least 2, and I like to use 2 different tablecloths to help with separating the price points. And then I have this display stand. I actually had a second one, but I only set up one. And on that display stand, all of my pages there are $10. So the way my pricing works is everything in the display stand and on the yellow tablecloth is $6. And then everything over on the blue tablecloth is $8, and everything in the display stand is $10. Now, I did have to rearrange some of the prices of my pages just to make it so that everything was filled every spot. So some pages that normally might have been $12, I just lowered to $10. Some pages that normally may have been $6, I increased to $8 just to make sure that each section on the table was filled, so that people can pick and choose the pages they like. And then I connect the pages with my binder rings, and here are the tags that I attach on every book that I sell. Here are the binder rings that I use to connect the pages, and on my tags it just has all my business information. It has a warning for small parts, regardless of whether the book actually has any detachable pieces or small parts. So it doesn't matter. I always put the warning on the tag anyways. And yeah, so when customers come up, I don't have all the pages individually tagged and priced. I don't think that's necessary, and I think it just takes up unnecessary time. But when they come up, I just explain everything on the display stand is $6, and on the yellow table is $6. The blue table is $8, and on the display rack on the table there, that one is $10. So that up front, I just kind of give my intro, tell them what Busy Books are, what the point is. I explain that they can grab some pages and I'll connect them with some rings, and those are the price points. I'll also very often ask my customers if they have a specific child in mind that they're thinking of buying a book for, and then how old that child is, because then that way I can kind of gear them towards some of the pages that are more meant for that age, and just give them a few examples of how a few of the pages work. And then ultimately I let them kind of explore the pages and play a little while and see if there's any that they like. This is another display that I did at a different craft show a week later. I had a much larger space, obviously a 10 by 10 booth. So I had 3 different tables set up. I actually forgot my display cases that go on the tables, but I don't think that that matters at all because it's super beneficial to just have them all laying out on display. So I had one whole table for $6, one table for $8, and one table for $10. So that's a few examples of how I might set up my display at craft shows and how I do my pricing. Some little things that I find that work well for me is making sure that whatever your lowest price point is, that you have that sign up front. If you only have space for one sign, which you saw in that first table, it wasn't very big. I actually only kept one sign up. And what I did was I just put the lowest price, which was $6, and a little addition sign to show that the pages are $6 plus. That way, when customers come by, they can immediately see how low the prices are that I'm charging, and that they do have an option to get something really cute and really fun at a low price point. And it's not like I'm particularly misleading about my prices. Like, I hate when I go to a store and they say, oh, prices as low as $5. And then you go and there's like one thing for $5 and everything else is way more. That's not what this is. Everything is pretty close to that price point, and I have a lot of pages at that $6 price point to offer my customers. So that's the kind of one thing I would suggest about pricing, is make sure that whatever your lowest price is, you have that up front so that people are not intimidated by prices. And if you're wondering how those craft shows went for me, unfortunately, they were not the most successful craft shows. They're not terrible. So with the first craft show that I did at the market store, I've always had a wonderful experience there at their craft shows. And their craft shows are free if you allow your customers to check out at their cashier. Anytime I've gone there, it has gone okay or very well. Never has it been awful. This particular craft show, I think I just had really high hopes because it was the Easter weekend. It was the Friday and Saturday. I ended up only doing about 5 or 6 sales each day, and each day I only sold $180 worth, which some of you watching, you might think that that's great and you're really striving for that. And so I don't mean to diminish what your goals are. But then some of you watching might think that that's not enough. For me, it's not enough only because I have to deduct the expenses. So I have to deduct the cost of the materials. And so after that, I'm maybe left with about 2/3 of what I made on each of those days. The following week, when I had the bigger table at another show that you saw in the video, that week I did do about 10 sales and I sold about $250 worth of product. Again, that is much better, but I did have to pay for that spot. I had to pay $55 for that spot in the craft show. So again, by the time you take that into consideration, you're not left with a whole lot. And so I have a personal goal to do much more in sales at my average craft show. But again, I don't regret going, and that is just the nature of craft shows. Some craft shows I've been to, I have sold literally nothing, and other craft shows I've been to, I've sold thousands of dollars. And that's just the thing with craft shows. One thing that you need to do, and I don't know how to say this quite right, you do need to compare yourself to your neighbors. I mean that in the sense that you need to look around at a craft show and say, are my neighbors getting a ton of customers? Are all the other tables busy constantly? And is it like Taylor Swift where it's like, I'm the problem, it's me? Or is it just that we're all kind of standing there not busy at all because there's simply not enough customers at the show? The answer to that question, even though both results are the same of you not selling anything, the reason why really matters. So I've been in a situation where I've been at craft shows and the people beside me were selling like crazy and they were doing really great and no one was buying my stuff. And it was because I was the problem. It was me and my price. I was charging the wrong price points. I wasn't setting up my table the way that I am now. And so I've done a lot to change that. So I do have a lot more confidence now in my product and my price points. So typically I do quite well at craft shows, unless the craft show is simply not busy enough. So I don't consider those two particular craft shows huge successes, but I also don't consider them huge failures either. The results just are what they are. And not to compare or to announce my successes and failures, because that feels cringy. It is cringy. But if you are doing handmade sales, it's really hard to get an accurate kind of point of reference for how you ought to be doing and what your own goals are. And when you ask fellow vendors, oh, how did the show go for you? They might say, oh, the show went great. I'm so happy. And you might think, oh, wow, they like sold out of their product. They made a ton of money. But they might be thinking, it went great. I made my fee back. I made my craft show fee. I didn't profit anything, but hey, I got a couple sales. Like, that's literally how it is in the craft show world, because you have people who are just doing this as a hobby, who are retired, and then you have people who are trying to do this as a full-time job. They're trying to hustle. Like, the spectrum is so large that everyone's idea of success or of doing well at a show is different. I have my own financial goals. And what's important is that I know that they are realistic. Realistic in the sense that I know that these pages are profitable. Unfortunately, with some handmade items, they're really not profitable, like based on the amount of time that you put into them, the amount of money that you put into the product. people might just not be willing to pay that much overall. And so it can be really hard for some handmade artisans. However, I know that with Busy Books, there's a huge market for them. They're very popular, they're not expensive to make, and they can be made quickly and efficiently and therefore profitably. And so that's the way that I design my books. I specifically designed them that way. I specifically was like, how much are people generally willing to spend on a children's gift, on a children's toy? And then I worked backwards from that and decided, how can I design my pages so that I can offer something at a decent price point, but still be very profitable. That's it for today. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching. Mwah! I will see you in the next video.